2012, you graduated, you're in employment, you've determined to not write a CV. How did you guys come together? What was the deciding factor? Why did you think you would be better together instead of apart? And how did you then navigate that journey? Because I'm certain that you each came with different trading styles. How were you able to merge it all together and carry on as a team?
Actually, how did we end up discussing and doing that in chats? I can't quite remember, but I think it's like a small group we had of guys who were trading, and I think we were sharing ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
From what I remember, we were quite a number of guys.
Yeah, at the beginning. I had a number of friends also who we were trading with at least and started getting involved with a few other friends, two other friends. So I realized, once I spoke to John and realized, oh, you're also trading, I invited him, like, why don't you come and we can at least change ideas and exchange ideas and realize like what we can do. Because at that point in time, obviously not necessarily everyone is making as consistent money, but we did want to learn from each other and see what we can do to improve. Then we did decide, once money started coming in, and John and I guess we clicked and continued communicating, and the two other guys actually fell off. I don't think they can trade anymore. So it just ended up being natural, where we found ourselves together, and as we were learning, we started learning towards the same things as well, and improving on the same things, and hence why we end up trading pretty similar right now, because we did learn from a bit, like, once we were together a lot as well. Yeah.
So we actually started off as a group of just guys who were just sharing ideas.
Right.
When we came together, we weren't like, you know what, let's start a company.
Yeah.
This is what we're gonna do. We actually just came together, started exchanging ideas, then along the way, we're like, you know what, why don't we just, form a unit where we can actually end up trading and also showing people how to end up trading, So it wasn't something that we had planned like before. It's something that just came about as we were just networking and stuff, sharing ideologies and stuff.
Okay. Because what actually even happened with Afriforex, as we joined together and decided to do something together, we did start dealing with other people's money, and we did get investors where we were trading for them. And it was only once the CMA brought these regulations where they required people, if they're going to trade for other people, they require a money manager's license. So we decided to stop that aspect of it. But at the same time, after going through all those losses and all those years of not necessarily making consistent profits, we did realize that since we did miss the fact that we did not get education at first and learn from someone who knew, so we figured, why not try and help as many people? Since we cannot trade for people anymore, why not teach them how to trade and be able to make their money on their own? So that's where the education aspect actually started falling into place. Yeah.
Okay. So, Afriforex,
Yeah.
you alluded to. Who came up with the name Afriforex? How did you come up with the name Afriforex?
That's interesting, because we had so many names. You remember, we were so confused about what to call it and stuff like that. I don't know, I think it was a combination of so many things.
I remember what it was.
What was it?
It was my mom who actually sent a message like, you're coming up with names, why not try Afriforex?
Oh yeah, I remember.
Because she did have she has a company called AfriGlobal.
Right.
So she was like,
That's
you're
true.
dealing with Forex, why not call it Afriforex?
That's true.
I was like, oh, okay, that has a nice ring to it. So then we started calling Afriforex, in short, AFX. It had a good ring to it, so we're like, yeah.
Okay, that's true. Actually, I'd actually forgotten about that. That's true, actually.
You can clearly see what the brains of the operation is.
Yeah, so, Mitchell's mom, if you're watching this, you're a genius. That name.
Okay. So you've alluded to something that's quite interesting, and the fact that you had to return money to investors because you didn't have a money manager's license. Do you mind just expounding a bit further on what that is and what it entails and why you had to stop doing it? Yeah.
Well, forex trading, especially here in Kenya, was when it had a bad name to it, because a lot of people did say, yes, I'm a forex trader. They did take people's money, but they ended up losing it. And there are a lot of people who did run away, and many people actually lost a lot of money dealing with, I guess, other traders. People who knew that they can end up dealing with their money and doubling like crazy returns that are really impossible or too good to be true. So you find basically it was the CMA, the Capital Markets Authority, which ended up coming up with regulations to end up protecting investors, so that it's not just anybody who can take someone's money. There are a number of regulations that are required in terms of even securities, or you have to have a certain amount of money backed up just in case you do lose, you can end up paying back investors. So once the regulations came about, we did not want to go against what the CMA was saying. So we did decide, okay, we will get into that later. But for now, we can focus on just the education and trading for ourselves. Yeah.
Which is actually a good thing, because investors actually get protected. At least when we have a regulated industry, it's safer for clients and their funds, because there are a lot of like scams and things that were going on. So it's actually a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, 2020, there've been loads of scandals, loads of people have lost their money, even despite the fact that the CMA has tried to regulate the industry. How have you guys been able, as Afriforex, to stay above the fray, to not be part of the noise, to not get caught up in all the mess? What have you done?
So not being caught up in the whole scandals and all that stuff that's going on. Number one, we're not dealing with funds because we don't yet have a license. Hopefully that's something that we are looking to get into and get a license soon. But at least on the education part of it, that one has no regulation per se. So by teaching people how to trade, we're not in conflict with anyone or any government body for that case. So by just dealing with the education part of it, we stay above board, above the scandals and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also think it's worth alluding that education in forex is not like education in, for example, engineering or doctor. There's no one way of doing it.
Yeah.
There's multiple ways, and you guys are just offering your way of doing, your understanding of, based on your experiences, what has happened in the market.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that what you are saying is fact, it's Bible, that this is the only way to do it. Right.
That's true.
Okay.
So, like the same way you said, like there are so many ways to end up trading. It's not that the way that we do it is the best way that's out there, but it's what we believe as Afriforex is the best. We've tried out so many things over the years. I remember like when we met indicators.
Yeah.
Mitch was very good with Hikinashi bars and
like whatever indicators or anything that I could try and find to end up helping. There, and it's not that they did not work. It depends on how you use them, because everything ends up working in some way. But what is your strategy? What is your approach towards it? Some things work in different times compared to other times. It's just figuring out also what is best for me individually, because you'll realize everyone is different. So even if it's driving, everyone can drive from point A to B. The car is the same, but people will drive differently. People will use another route. But ideally, it's still getting towards the same goal, but it depends on which one do you prefer. which one is best for you. Yeah, and that's why we went into avoiding indicators, went more into price action trading. Yeah.
Okay. And you've actually caught on to the next point. Can you help us understand a little bit more about the way you educate? What is price action trading?
Okay, price action trading is basically we don't use indicators to trade, which means if we're looking at the charts, we're basically looking at what is called naked charts, whereby there are no indicators whatsoever, it's just the candlesticks. Price action trading is about reading the story of price, just based on what the candlesticks are telling you. And the reason why price action works is because if you think about it, indicators, and for the traders who are watching this, indicators follow what the candlesticks are doing. So they follow price. If you can be able to interpret what it is that the candlesticks are doing, then do you really need an indicator?
Okay.
Yeah, so basically that's what price action is all about. It's just basically reading the story of price purely from the candlesticks and being able to speculate what might end up happening.
Yeah, it's basically understanding price movements anyway. And one thing also about that, it's also involves a lot of psychology.
Right.
Where you realize, yes, it's how price is moving, but it's the reasons behind why price is moving as well. Understanding that and realizing that all of that is based on human psychology, how humans react to certain things. One thing that is common is fear and greed. There is obviously someone who is fearful, either fearful that the trade is going to lose, or even if it's going in profit, they're fearful that it might not go all the way. Same time, there's greed where your trade is in a loss, but you're like, okay, let me move my stop loss because it will go. You don't want to lose that money. That aspect of greed, or if it's going in your favor and you're like, okay, I want to target till the moon, you definitely won't get there. So that's one aspect when you realize it on the charts and realize the fact that the statistics in forex is around 90 to 95% lose. So only 5 to 10% are actually making money. So if you realize that everyone reacts the same to a particular thing, or ideally how the markets react, then you can be able to identify not following what majority of people are doing and looking at the opposite. And trying to understand that, that's when things really clicked. Yeah. And that's when I was like, okay, price action is the way to go. Yeah. Better understanding how the market moves, so you as yourself individually can be like, okay, since I'm an individual, I prefer doing this compared to this. It's flexible depending on who you are. Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting, he talks about fear and greed, which is actually true, finding the perfect balance between the two.
Right.
As a trader, it's extremely hard.
And I think it's all about discipline, right?
Yeah.
It's because, like you say, it's very easy to move your stop loss and things up because you don't want to lose that money. Now, I know it's a personal question, but have you, even if it was in your early career, did you find yourself one day moving your stop loss because you were like...
One day, like all the time. Like, what is that?
This thing has to work.
This thing has to go up.
Moving it. It's gonna go at some point in time.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't.
There is that, and also moving the take profits.
Right.
So that's why, even what he was alluding to, like finding a perfect balance between greed and fear. So there's the fear part where you're afraid of being stopped out. Sometimes even not moving the stop loss, actually removing it. Which is one of the biggest mistakes that most new traders make. Like, let me give this thing as much room. I know at one point it's going to turn and go. On the other hand, when you're in profit, moving the take profits higher and higher.
Right.
Then the market gets to the level where you had targeted, then it tanks back down and you end up feeling like, the biggest idiot in the world. So finding the perfect balance, greed and fear.
Because no one ever makes all the money or the millions of dollars or shillings in one trade. It's all a matter of how many consistent trades can you get. to end up getting to that level. Yeah, it's only a few people who I guess end up one trade ending up earning big money, but it's not common. Yeah,
that's true. Even for the traders who make a lot of money, and they show a lot of stuff on Instagram and social media, those guys have probably been on the markets for some time. So as a newbie, you think that that's what forex is all about, and that's the picture that I thought forex was all about. Just go in heavy, this thing goes in your favor, and you have money, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and I think
consistency is key. Yeah,
I think you've alluded to something that even I have found, and that is a lot of people take forex to be somewhat of a side hustle, and I think that's worth everyone understanding before you get into it, that you can't half-ass it. You need to go in or not go in at all.